It's time for Atomic Monsoon with your hosts, Psycho Andy. And the internet went, Josh.
That opens up a lot of possibilities in the future. You just got me excited here.
And Jedi Stephanie.
They get like a staff, and they try to bring him back with it, and they only bring back his lower half.
And now, it's Atomic Monsoon. You know, Steph, I joked last week that it was monsoon season because we put out the 2 episodes in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And then this week we got a couple of actual storms.
Oh yeah, no, the monsoon that happened yesterday actually knocked our power out.
Wow, you guys too?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think my power went out because everything was on when I woke up and none of my clocks got reset, but some of my friends definitely lost power overnight.
Well, at least we had some monsoons this week, and now you have another one right now called Atomic Monsoon.
That's absolutely true.
Yep.
Hey, welcome to Atomic Monsoon, everybody. Your maelstrom of pop culture discussion. I want to say thanks to our friends at Def M Records, and I tried something new with our intro this week, and I hope you guys like it. Hey, so Steph, something new came out on Netflix in the last couple of weeks, and it's something that I was very excited about, and I wanted to get your take on it.
Well, I know it's not The Legend of Korra, which did come out this past couple of weeks on Netflix, so I'm going to take a guess. It probably has something to do with Transformers.
Oh, that certainly does sound like me, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. The Transformers, War for Cybertron Trilogy, Siege, Chapter 1. Because we can't just have short titles for anything anymore. Yeah, that dropped on Netflix about 2 weeks ago today. And so I wanted to give our audience some time to have watched it. It's 6 episodes long, and we're going to talk about that this week. And we are going to spoil a lot of things. So if you have not watched it, there's only 6 half-hour episodes. You can go be done with it in an afternoon. It's actually shorter than the third Lord of the Rings movie if you watch all of them in one sitting.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So this is an interesting thing. Hasbro has decided that they're going to split up their toy lines into trilogies, and they just completed one of them a couple years ago, and then they did Cyberverse as kind of a little thing, and now so War for Cybertron is this new trilogy that they're doing, and Siege is the first chapter of that. The second chapter will be called Earthrise, and if you are amongst the people brave enough to go out to stores to buy Transformer toys right now, then you've seen some of the Earthrise toys out there. And the 2021 toy line will be called Kingdom. But the Siege is the kickoff to that, and the animated series came out in July of 2020, and here we go. So this was produced by Rooster Teeth Studios. This is actually the first thing by Rooster Teeth Studios, which is a division of Rooster Teeth, which is a Time Warner company, which is an AT&T company. But Rooster Teeth is probably best known for their Red vs. Blue series that they came up with
as well
17
as Ruby.
Seasons ago. And Ruby, yes. And then Genlock is their other current project.
Genlock is so good. Sorry, I have to catch up, but it's so good.
No, for sure. This was animated by Polygon Pictures, who also animated some things you may have heard of, like Transformers Prime or Tron Uprising, or the CGI sequences of Ghost in the Shell Innocence. They also animated several episodes of the Clone Wars series.
I knew it! I looked at that animation, I studied it so hard, and I'm like, I smell Clone Wars.
Yeah. So, yeah, they've done quite a bit of good stuff. It was directed by Tazuma Shimizu Koji. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And the music was by Alexander Bornstein, who did all of the scoring for this.
Nice.
So this might be the first like mature Transformers series. Mature might be a bit of a misnomer. Like it's not, porny or anything, but it's the first one that's not obviously directed at kids.
Yeah.
It's pretty dark. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing, Steph. I have a bunch of notes. I took 5 pages of notes, and we've gone through about a quarter of a page with just the who made this and everything.
Wow.
But I know everything about Transformers, especially the Generation 1 era stuff that this is loosely based on, and you don't.
Nope.
So first, I want to ask, what Transformer stuff have you seen?
Well, okay. So the Transformer stuff I have seen, Andy, is sadly the Transformers that you actually don't like.
Now, there's more than one iteration of Transformers I don't like, so
The Michael Bay movies.
Okay, yeah.
No, so I saw. So oddly enough, I knew what Transformers was before the Michael Bay films. I don't know how. I just did. I'm assuming because of other kids playing with it and everything, and seeing the T-shirts and whatnot.
Yeah, it's a big enough part of pop culture that it's kind of hard to escape in America this century. So yeah.
Yeah, and I may have seen like a couple of like some cartoon version or whatever that played on TV at one point. But the ones I do recall is actually going to see the Transformers films. I saw the first one, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one all in theaters. And it wasn't actually until a couple weeks ago that I actually saw the fifth one for the first time.
Okay.
And I will admit I do like the first three with Shia LaBeouf and everything. But I have seen also the Transformers animated series that came out in like the mid to late 2000s.
Oh yeah, the 2007 cartoon that's literally called Transformers Animated.
Yes, that one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that one's actually really good.
Yeah, no, I actually enjoyed that. And then I've also seen Bumblebee, and I love Bumblebee.
Yes. Yeah, that movie was surprisingly good, especially after how disappointing, and I know I've talked about this on the show before. I've only ever seen that first live action Michael Bay movie.
Yeah.
And I was so disappointed by it that I didn't see the others.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you have limited Transformers knowledge.
Very limited.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, how did you like this?
So right out the gate, I will say after watching episode 1, because I knew I was like, okay, I have to watch all 6 episodes for Atomic Monsoon. I knew that much.
Right.
But after watching episode 1, I was like, okay, I noticed 3 things immediately right off the gate. Number 1 was the animation, which reminded me of, because I've seen photos from you, Andy, of what the old Transformers cartoon used to look like.
Right.
It reminded me a little bit of that style. And then obviously there was just the way they were texturized and shadowed and everything that made me, like, it screamed Clone Wars at me. Because I've watched that show so much. Obviously we did a whole episode on it. I've watched that show so much that I saw the similarities in the animation. So that was one of the things I noticed right off the gate. Another thing I noticed right off the gate was, I don't know, like there was something about just the way things were happening in the first episode that really intrigued me of like, okay, I know I've never seen the original Transformers, but I don't think it was ever like this dark.
No, definitely not.
And then the third thing I noticed was that's Bumblebee, and he's talking.
Yes. Yeah. Something weird happened in about 2007 where they decided Bumblebee was just going to be mute. And that happened in a lot of Transformers media for some reason. A cool twist for the movie, right? Like, all right, it's something different. And I'm, like, regardless of how I feel about that movie, I think that there are some good parts in it. And I do appreciate them trying something different. Yeah. So making Bumblebee mute is an interesting idea. Not one I would have gone with, but it's an interesting idea. And in this one, right off, the opening scene of this has Bumblebee and a character called Wheeljack. And Bumblebee and Wheeljack being hunted down by Decepticon jets, or Seekers as they're called, is actually also the first scene of the first episode of the 1984 cartoon.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, there are a lot of callbacks to moments and episodes of the original series throughout this, as well as comics and movies.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm going to be mentioning some of them as we go through this, but honestly, if I did just describing all the callbacks, it would be longer than any of our other episodes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well. Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff here.
All right.
So let's try something different, and let's have you describe this.
Okay.
And if listen, as we've established, right, we've had plenty of episodes where I've talked about my love. I did a whole Transformers month last year, right? Yep. And had a lot of fun guests on. And so if you go back and listen to the October 2019 episodes, there's 4 or 5 episodes in a row that are all Transformers. Stephanie, as we just established, has very little Transformers knowledge. So let's not be mad at Stephanie if she gets something wrong. Because unlike me, she hasn't been watching for 36 years.
Yeah. I'm also not that old either.
Right. Let's see what a Transformers newbie thinks happened in this show.
All right. So, as you said, the series starts off with Bumblebee and Wheeljack. They're looking for Energon in like what looks like some type of old like scrap yard somewhere in Decepticon territory on Cybertron.
Mm-hmm.
And while they're looking, they stumble upon a sky bridge.
Yes.
That's what it's called? Okay. A sky bridge.
Space bridge, but yeah.
Space bridge. They stumble across a space bridge that looks like if it was tinkered on a little bit, it could get back into working order. And then the Seekers show up, led by Jetfire and Starscream.
Yes.
And they pretty much chase them out of there, and to the point where they actually end up being not only captured, but caught by the Seekers, and Megatron shows up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this was an interesting moment, though, I will have to say. But Megatron shows up. He pretty much just says, like, look, you're an Autobot. I don't like you, to Wheeljack and everything. Mm-hmm. But at least you wear your side's emblem with pride. Meanwhile, this guy over here, you know, Bumblebee, that is, you're just pick a side, man, you know. Like that, like that's kind of that's the rough story. That's the long story rough version.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of what he actually says. What he actually says is like, I think a lot better.
For sure. For sure. I'm not going to expect you to have memorized every line of dialogue.
No. But well, anyway, so while they're being captured, Megatron says, "All right, go ahead and execute them." And then Optimus shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And Optimus faces off against Megatron verbally and then actually physically. And right when Megatron is about to deal a deadly blow, Elita?
Elita 1.
Elita 1 snipes him from far away, saves Optimus and Bumblebee and Wheeljack, and they make their escape back to the Autobot home base. And as they're heading back, Wheeljack's trying to tell Optimus what he found and what they found, but Optimus is like, wait till we get out of Decepticon territory. Elita is asking, you know, about Bumblebee, and this is where I have to comment something where I realize this is not a kid show, is when Wheeljack made the comment that Bumblebee is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I sat there and I'm like, I'm sorry, did you just cuss?
Yeah. That caught me off guard. I was not expecting anyone in the Transformers cartoon to say ass ever. And,
no, I wasn't expecting it either.
Yeah, there it was.
There it was. And they pretty much go back to home base. They see the other Autobots. They tell them that they found some remnants of Energon and everything. I think they mentioned the space bridge there at that moment. If not, they mention it at some point later on when it's actually important. And Bumblebee pretty much kind of takes his payment and leaves. After that, this is where I'm going to be a little hazy here, because I was watching this in my car at Discount Tire trying to get my tires replaced.
All right.
Megatron gives this rousing speech to all of the Decepticons that the Autobots have pretty much, you know, that Optimus and Ultra Magnus have kind of gone too far and everything, and that the Autobots aren't good and everything like that. It's a hate speech. I believe this is when Ultra Magnus shows up, surrenders himself to Megatron.
Okay, yeah, so let's stop there, because that's going to be the beginning of episode 2. So that was actually a really good summary of episode 1. Good job.
Thank you.
I want to make a couple of notes here. I'm going to guess you know what Energon is, right?
Yeah, it's like their power source.
Right, okay, cool. Did you understand what a space bridge was in that first episode?
Actually, I did.
Did you? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I particularly blame that on the fact that I've watched Stargate, and I've also watched a couple of other movies where they had a similar device that would send people maybe not into space, but like other dimensions or things like that. Mm-hmm. So I've seen the same shape before. So the moment they said space bridge, I'm like, okay, I know exactly what that does.
Okay, cool. The reason I ask is because watching this, I felt like there was a lot of, we're just going to assume you know what this stuff is.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they never explain what Energon is or what it's for. They never really explain the space bridge. They just kind of mention quickly, like, you know, Wheeljack says, like, hey, you ever take one of these off planet before? Mm-hmm. And like, okay, you can kind of figure out that it's a portal to another world through context, but they never like say what it is.
Yeah.
Something real quick that I wanted to mention is Jetfire is a Decepticon at the beginning of this, when historically he's always been an Autobot. In the original cartoon, we find out that Jetfire and Starscream were friends. They were scientists together. And then Jetfire, who was called Skyfire for legal reasons in the original cartoon, that's a whole other thing. We're not going to get into that here. Okay. But Jetfire and Starscream were friends. They worked together. For some reason, he ended up leaving Cybertron and getting lost. And then the war happened, and Starscream joined the Decepticons. So this is all detailed in the episode Fire in the Sky, which is like episode 8 or 9 of the original cartoon. They find Jetfire on Earth. He joins with Starscream because they were friends before the war, and that's the last thing that he remembers. And as the episode progresses, he's like, oh, I don't agree with the Decepticon cause at all. And he joins the Autobots.
Okay.
So for me, it was interesting to see Jetfire being a Decepticon, like, immediately, and the leader of the Seekers. It was like, oh, okay, cool. Something else I wanted to mention real quick is that all of the character models in this, I found out, are actually based on Hasbro's CAD designs. So they're literally the 3D CGI models that Hasbro used to produce the toys for this series.
That's awesome.
So when you're watching this, you know, they've been given some extra texture mapping by Polygon Pictures and stuff to give everything kind of that brushed steel look and all the scrapes and grime and stuff on them. But everyone except for, I think, Bumblebee, Elita 1, and RC are literally the CGI models for the toys.
Nice.
It was kind of cool because I have a couple of the Siege toys, and it was cool to see, like, like right down to like the peg holes in their arms and stuff to attach weapons are like in this show, which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
So, okay, and then, you know, obviously Optimus Prime is the leader of the Autobots, who are the good guys. Megatron's leader of the Decepticons, who are the bad guys. They're on the planet Cybertron, right? Like, kind of basic Transformer stuff, but we might have some listeners that don't know some of these things.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention is that so all the original toys on the back had a little profile, and each one had a motto, like their personal motto. And Optimus's motto was "Freedom is the right of all sentient beings."
Yeah.
Which Wheeljack repeats in this. And then Megatron's motto is "Peace through tyranny." And I really appreciate how much this show in specific kind of like those mottos are kind of the driving force for both of those characters.
Yeah.
Okay. So the second episode, as you said, starts with Ultra Magnus taking off a hood, he's wearing a big cloak that he shows up at the Decepticon gate to talk with Megatron. And I don't understand how nobody recognized Ultra Magnus in that cloak, because literally nobody else looks like him. But
I think it took me a moment just because I met Ultra Magnus like a couple scenes before.
Right.
And I hadn't had the chance to completely take in that was what he looked like. So when he did come with the cloak, I was like, who is that? And it took me a moment. And then I thought, wait, is that other guy who was talking to Optimus? And I was forgetting his name for a moment. And then when he took the hood off, I'm like, oh, yeah, it is. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So it worked on you. I just feel like it's weird that like the leader of Autobot, they're basically second in command.
Yeah.
Like, how did Megatron not recognize him right away?
I don't know.
Yeah. So episode 2, Steph, what happened in episode 2?
So episode 2, Ultra Magnus surrenders. Megatron takes him in. He's trying to figure out, why did you surrender? And the Autobots are like, wait, what? He surrendered? Why? And while he's surrendered and everything, this is where I'm going to blank on a few details, but
sure.
While in captivity through the Decepticons, it led me to believe that he was actually they were going to actually surrender, sign a treaty to completely end this whole war type of thing. But then one of the Decepticons, I believe it was either Shockwave or Soundwave, one of the two, walks up and says, hey, we found something. And they tell him that they found the Allspark.
Right. Okay.
And that leads Megatron to go on a whole thing of how he wants to use the Allspark to pretty much create a code that would result in wiping out anyone with the Autobot symbol. And Ultra Magnus sends that back to the others. The others are like, what? So they thought, okay, we need to find this before Megatron does. But then Megatron finds out that Ultra Magnus sent the message. So he sends another message that sends the Autobots into a trap. And then they manage to survive the trap. I know that much. But it does result in the loss of Pure Energon, as well as, I don't know his name, another Autobot or Decepticon, or what do you call them when they're not either side?
There's a few terms for that. But the character that died in this was, or seemingly died, was Impactor.
Okay.
Who, it's funny that you were confused about what to call him, because Impactor historically has been both an Autobot and a Decepticon, depending on Transformers continuity.
I just know I knew Impactor came back later. I was just having the brain fart. Is this the same one that Ratchet saves later?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
That was where I was confused.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, and that's mostly episode 2.
Yeah, no, like I said, this is at the point where I'm sitting in my car at Discount Tire because the way they're doing things and everything right now, and I was just watching on my phone, but I was also like looking up every now and then to go like, okay, are you coming to tell me you're gonna take my car now?
Yeah.
So
no, that's fine. So
there's a lot.
There's a lot to unpack here. One thing I wanted to actually bring up at the beginning. Transformers continuity is super confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Every iteration of Transformers is 100% its own thing and unrelated to every other iteration of Transformers, except when that's not true. So Transformers might be the most rebooted thing because really every incarnation of Transformers is its own continuity mess. All the way back to the original thing, right? Like if you read the original Marvel comics, if you watch the original cartoon, and even if you read all the profiles on the original toys, they all tell different stories. So even in 1984, there were at least 3 distinct Transformers continuities. As time has gone on, every new iteration of Transformers adds something to the lore that any future versions of Transformers will pick up and add to it. So, for example, the Allspark, that debuted in the 2007 Michael Bay movie. That thing didn't exist before 2007.
But the Allspark didn't?
The Allspark did not exist before 2007.
Huh.
Yeah. But now it's like one of the most important artifacts in Transformers.
Yeah.
It didn't look like a 20-sided die until Transformers Cyberverse like a year and a half ago.
Wow.
It was just this thing. It was just this, like, in the movie, I think it was a cube shape. And then there was something else inside of it. But, like, yeah, it didn't have a distinct look until maybe 2018, maybe 2019. I don't remember exactly what episode we first see it. But now it looks like a D20. And this is the second or third iteration of Transformers where we see it in that shape.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like, kind of in every version, Elita 1 and Optimus are probably romantically involved in some way.
I was going to say something, but...
Yeah, except that's not true in all of the ones where Elita 1 doesn't exist. Just most of them.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Impactor comes from the original Marvel comics, but specifically the UK exclusive comics. He wasn't a character in America. He was made up for the British version of the original Marvel Transformers comics. And has been re-imported into American versions of Transformers. And I think this is the first time he's shown up in a cartoon.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, Transformers is weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's enough babble from me. What happened in episode 3, Stephanie?
So episode 3, we meet Ratchet, and he helps Impactor kind of come back to life. And then Optimus comes to Ratchet and is like, please, join our cause, help us out, everything. And he's like, look, I'm going to do this. I'm going to join only because I want to help the people of Cybertron. I'm not joining because I want to be an Autobot. And Optimus is like, that's fine. And Ultra Magnus gets tortured, if I recall correctly, by Megatron and the Decepticons and everything for information. I think regarding primarily the Allspark.
So they're torturing Ultra Magnus to find out where the Autobots are. Oh,
that's right. Yes, they're torturing him for for the location, but he won't give the location until he does. But it's not the actual location. It's the Trion location. It's the
the Alpha Trion Memorial.
The Alpha Trion Memorial is where he goes, and they immediately realize, wait, there's no one here. You brought us to a lie, and they end up killing him in pretty much cold blood or cold oil. And after they kill him, that results in Jetfire having his change of heart, or change of spark, I guess.
Nice.
Hey, I caught on to that real quick. And it also results in this transfer of data and information to Bumblebee. So like this prophecy moment of where the Alpha Trion information just transfers to Bumblebee while Bumblebee finishes with another job. And now Bumblebee knows not only the location of the Allspark, but now he knows all this information that Ultra Magnus knew. Yeah. So that was the third episode, right?
That was kind of 3 and 4.
Okay.
not a lot. Yeah, like not a lot happens in either episode.
Yeah.
It's a lot of exposition in both of those. So
yeah.
yeah, you did leave out the moment where it's sort of the first time that Jetfire starts questioning the Decepticon motivation. And it's where Magnus is in prison and Megatron and Jetfire are walking away, and Ultra Magnus like breaks free and goes to shoot Megatron in the back, but won't pull the trigger because he has too much honor.
Right.
Right.
That's one of the few moments that I spaced on. So
Okay. Yeah. So I wrote in my notes here, like, while I appreciate Ultra Magnus's principles, that he won't shoot Megatron in the back, he's also kind of an idiot for that.
Yeah.
Like, when you have Robot Hitler in your sights, just pull the damn trigger, man.
Yeah.
Like, more people went through pain and suffering because Ultra Magnus wouldn't shoot Megatron in the back. And it's like, dude, I get it. Like, I understand that you don't want to be a total, like, jerk and kill someone from behind, but, like, when it's the opposing army's leader...
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I kind of feel like you just end it. You end the war.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I do remember that part because he makes the comment, "You could have ended the war."
Yeah.
Right there. I do remember that part. Okay.
Yeah. And then he turns to Jetfire and he says, let this be a lesson. Always take the shot. And you see Jetfire react and like squint his eyes, and it's like, oh, that's dirty.
Yeah.
The other thing that happens in those episodes is Skywarp and Jetfire find the Autobot base, and Skywarp is the black and purple seeker.
Yeah.
And Jetfire says, "Yeah, we're not going to come in here and just slaughter all of them." And Jetfire's like, "Why not?" And Jetfire shoots Skywarp in the back. He does take the shot.
Mm-hmm.
Skywarp is one of my, like, visually, he's one of my favorite Transformers. Like, I really like the black and purple and white color scheme that he goes with, or that he comes in, or however you want to phrase that. But typically he's portrayed as not being very intelligent, and he kind of just blindly follows whoever his commander is, like, in the moment. So usually it's going to be Starscream or Megatron.
Yeah.
He is blindly loyal to the Decepticon cause and just the murder of all of the Autobots.
Yeah.
Now, Skywarp typically isn't very well developed as a character either. A lot of what I just said is kind of things you kind of have to infer over 30-something years of Transformers knowledge. But he is one of the original 84 Transformers, and he is one of the more noteworthy Seekers. So I think it's really weird that they kill him like early on in this 3-chapter series. Anyways, I thought that was very strange.
Yeah.
I also noted that the Alpha Trion protocols, the thing that go into Bumblebee's head, is new. Like, this is one of the new concepts that's introduced, and I'm curious to see if this is going to be a thing that we see in future iterations of Transformers, like whatever comes after the War for Cybertron trilogy.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then episode 5, or I guess maybe it was the end of episode 4. Shockwave mentions to Megatron that he says, he has a virus that will track the whatever the signal is that escaped Bumblebee. And Megatron agrees to let Shockwave go do his thing, which you can see is very much against what Megatron wants to do.
Yeah.
But you can also see that this is Megatron becoming more and more desperate to end the war, to just finish the Autobots. Yeah. And that's fascinating. All right, so let's keep going. What happens next?
So before I actually go on real quick, oddly enough, that moment with Shockwave and Megatron, when he says that, that's the moment where I started to question the voice actor, not in the sense of like, why would you say that thing, like type of thing, like to go like, wait, I know that voice. Who is that? And I looked it up. Oddly enough, the voice of Red Alert and Shockwave is actually one of my favorite anime voice actors. By the way, there's a lot of anime voice actors in this.
Oh, yeah.
But one of my favorite anime voice actors for English dub, and his name is Todd Habercorn. He voices Natsu, Dragoneel, and Fairy Tail.
Okay.
As well as a few other characters from other shows that I've watched. So when I heard his voice, I was like, nah. And then I looked it up, I'm like, yeah. So, had one of those awesome moments. So yeah, episode 5, Jetfire, Optimus, and a few others decide to go and get the Allspark from the Sea of Rust.
Yeah, and the Sea of Rust is a deep cut. That thing first debuts in convention exclusive comics.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's become more and more of a general location on Cybertron, but yeah, it's pretty out there.
Yeah. So they go to retrieve the Allspark from the Sea of Rust, and while they're doing that, Bumblebee, I know one of them was RC, I think the other one was
Cog. Yeah. Cog got his second toy ever in the Siege toy line. He was originally made up of the accessories of one of these Citybot Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a toy in like 1987 and then didn't get another one until 2019.
All right.
But he is what's called a weaponizer. And basically he doesn't turn into a vehicle or anything. He just opens up and turns into a bunch of weapons.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the three of them go and steal Energon from what looks like a bot mob boss type. And while they're doing that, Wheeljack is trying to prepare the Ark to fly. And then there's another group that I know is going to I know it's Impactor and Ratchet and a few others that are going to fix the space gate. So it's like there's 4 things happening at once.
Yeah.
All to prepare for the Autobots to yeet out of there and try to avoid Megatron's try to get the Allspark away from Megatron and then try to avoid Megatron's mass genocide that he's trying to commit.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty much episode 5.
Yeah.
So.
I want to make some Atomic Monsoon continuity here.
Okay.
Sound Blaster, who is the mob boss guy you mentioned.
Yeah.
He is a black repaint of Soundwave, and they mention in here that he is a failed clone of Shockwave's to clone Soundwave. Yes, it's terribly confusing that there are Decepticons named Soundwave and Shockwave, and they are both always in everything.
Yep.
Sound Blaster is the black version of Soundwave. He debuted in '87 in Japan as part of the Headmaster series, where... So the Headmaster series was exclusive to Japan, but there was a company in the Southeast Asia. I want to say Taiwan or Indonesia. They had there's a television company there called Star TV that dubbed all the Headmaster stuff into English using none of the original voices, a bunch of people who didn't speak English great, and translated a bunch of stuff incorrectly.
Oh, dear.
So in that series, Soundwave gets destroyed and rebuilt as Sound Blaster.
Mm-hmm.
In the Star TV dubs, Soundwave gets destroyed and gets rebuilt as New Soundwave. And I love that. However, Sound Blaster in this is not a rebuild of Soundwave. He's a clone, as we established. And the way that ties into Atomic Monsoon is when we had Drew Nolasco on to talk about the Transformers trading card game, it was either episode 44 or 47. I looked up which episodes it might have been. I didn't have time to listen all the way through for every bit of minutia. But he mentioned that in the Transformers trading card game that they were adding the third mercenary faction that got to debut in the card game and would later be a part of more Transformers. Sound Blaster's emblem on his chest is that mercenary faction symbol.
No way.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So so that was a lot of information to describe a sticker on someone's chest. But just because it was like, hey, this is the thing we talked about on a previous episode of Atomic Monsoon, I thought it was worth mentioning. Also, when the Decepticons figure out that they find where the Ark is, they mentioned that it's in Sector 7. Mm-hmm. Sector 7 was also the name of the human military group in the Michael Bay movies. Yeah.
Yep. So I'm going to say something really funny about that. So the Sector 7 thing in the Michael Bay movies, the actor who plays the kind of leader of the Sector 7 group, he is in every single Transformers film.
Mm-hmm.
I know that because now that I've seen all 5, I'm like, oh, there he is. And every time I forget his actual name, but I always refer to him as the Sector 7 guy.
Nice.
And what's also interesting is that, so I actually have gone and ridden the Transformers ride at Universal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that is, it does have the stylings based off of the movie.
Sure.
It does actually take you through Sector 7 and Nest and everything like that. And it's actually kind of really cool. Especially because you get to see chunk of the Allspark and other things like that up close. And it's actually kind of really neat.
Oh,
so
that's pretty cool. Yeah. Oh, I did want to mention, did you get confused by Moonracer and Chromia being in 2 places at 2 different times? Because they're the same model.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of reuse of models in this, which is consistent with Transformers historically, but there was a lot of it in this. But Chromia and Moonracer, their toys are the same toy, but Moonracer's is blue and Chromia's is kind of aqua.
Yeah.
And then they got put in scenes where the lighting affected them, so they were almost indistinguishable, except for Moonracer apparently has an Australian accent now.
Yeah, I personally, not saying I couldn't tell the difference. My thing was like I couldn't tell the difference in the sense of like the way they looked, but it was more of I didn't remember who was which.
Right.
Because I heard them being referenced by their name once.
Right.
And then never again after that. And I think after one of them died in that like zombie pit in the Sea of Rust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was Moonracer. Yeah.
Yeah. After she died, then I was like, okay, that was Moonracer, so you're the other one. Got it.
Yeah. One thing that I was a little disappointed in this is that not every character, like most of the character names get called out, but some of them, like Moonracer her name gets said twice.
Yeah.
And it's in 2 separate episodes. So it's like, how are we supposed to remember this character? It's separate from the other one when she looks identical. But yeah, it's fine. So episode 6 picks up while they're fighting the sparkless zombie bots.
Yes. Pretty much Optimus manages to, so while they're fighting them, Optimus manages to get his hands on the Allspark, which goes from a glowing ball of light to then the D20 dice that we mentioned before. Yeah. He then stores it in his mysterious area of holding. I see him hold it and then I don't see him hold it.
So that inconsistency is consistent among Transformers.
Got it.
Yeah. Sometimes things just disappear. Got it.
So then they make the race back to the Ark, but then they get a transmission that the Ark has been discovered by Megatron. So Jetfire and Prowl head to help the Ark make their escape and help them take care of the Decepticons. Yeah. Well, Optimus and what was the other one's name?
Was it Hound?
Yeah, I think so.
The Jeep? Yeah.
Yeah, it was either that or Iron. That wasn't Ironside. It was probably Hound.
No, Ironhide was on there. Here's the thing: there were 32 characters in 6 episodes.
Yeah.
There were 32 distinct characters in 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine if you got a couple of them confused.
Yep, and don't remember all the names. But Optimus and his team and his part of the team head to the space bridge to meet with that team because they pretty much have it ready to go and they're just waiting on the Ark and everything. But they're also dealing with Starscream and the Seekers who are causing problems. And it pretty much is just kind of like one giant like battle sequence of where there's fighting at the Ark, there's fighting at the space bridge.
Yeah,
the fighting at the Ark.
Two of my notes for episode 6 are fighting, fight. And then a couple notes later, more fighting. Yep. So, yeah. Episode 6 has a lot of fight scenes.
Oh, yeah. But once Megatron discovers Optimus is at the space bridge, he takes off for there. That allows them to... allows the Ark to escape with the new Energon that they got from Bumblebee and his crew. Also, Bumblebee seems to have now lost all the information that he got with the Alpha Trion protocol.
Yes.
Because of that...
because of
that
the
huge...
virus.
Yeah.
The virus shockwave release. Yeah.
Yeah. So now he's lost that information, but I feel like that's going to be a thing that's going to be addressed more later.
Don't know. Alpha Trion protocols are brand new to this. I don't know what they mean.
Oh yeah. So then from there, the Ark heads to the space bridge. There's kind of like this final battle sequence that happens at the space bridge. Optimus, Bumblebee, pretty much majority of the main characters except for Red Alert, Elita, one other Autobot, and Jetfire.
Yeah, Chromia was the other Autobot.
Chromia, okay. Yeah. And Jetfire, those 4 remain behind, but everyone else gets aboard the Ark and goes through the opening for the space bridge. And it is led to believe that they perished going through the space bridge because the space bridge collapsed on itself after they went through. They believe that they got crushed by the collapsing of the space bridge. And that's pretty much where it ends with like the remaining 4 kind of being like, yo, we're going to stay here and, continue to defend Cybertron and take down Megatron with what we have left. Everyone else we know and love is up there and potentially dead. And then we get this brief clip of like what looks like the Ark floating in space potentially, and a warning or an alert kind of going off on the monitor. So I am just going to take the wild shot in the dark that meant that the ship made it through and they're sitting somewhere in space, but they've lost all power and they're just kind of floating. So
that's probably a safe bet. Yeah.
Because if they're going to do a trilogy of this, it wouldn't make sense to kill off Optimus and Bumblebee after episode 6.
No, especially since there's a new Optimus toy for the Earthrise toy line.
Yep.
Also, the Wheeljack toy comes out in the Earthrise toy line. He's not in the Siege toy line. So yeah. One of the upsides and downsides of this is that, like, because some of the toys for the next set have already come out, it's like, well, all right, I kind of know that these characters are probably going to survive.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, a couple interesting things that happened during the fight scene that are throwbacks to other Transformers things. At one point, Astrotrain, who is a Decepticon that turns into both a space shuttle and a locomotive, Astrotrain, he shows up and like kind of walks around in the battlefield, but doesn't say or do anything. Like, he's just there because he was a toy. And they're like, well, let's put him in.
I forgot to mention the Guardians and the fact that they showed up and helped.
Yeah. So the Guardians are interesting. Omega Supreme is the Guardian that shows up. He was in the original toy line, and as time has gone on, someone decided to fill in a backstory where there's more than one Guardian, like Omega Supreme. We've only ever seen one other one, and rather than being colored red and yellow, it was colored white and blue, or white and purple, depending on the coloring. The Guardians are kind of a weird mystery to me. Like, they're kind of one of my weird blind spots because they only show up in the very, like, most obscure places of Transformersdom.
Okay.
But having Omega Supreme show up in this is cool because Omega Supreme got a $150 toy because it's huge. It's like 2 feet tall.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So having him show up for that last battle scene was super neat. And then Optimus and Megatron fight each other during that last fight scene over possession of the Allspark. And I noted that I really appreciated that they didn't turn it into... So Optimus and Megatron fight a lot, obviously, but they're one of their more famous battle scenes throughout all of Transformers history is from the original 86 animated movie. And there are some lines in that movie that get repeated every time they interact with each other. You know, the one shall stand, one shall fall, I'll rip out your optics, blah, blah, blah. And I really appreciated that they didn't do that in this, and they let it be a new fight scene between the two characters. And then the last note that I have that I'm going to get into, because I still have several pages more. When everyone thinks the Ark gets destroyed as it goes through the space bridge, that's actually a callback to the 2011 comic series More Than Meets the Eye, which starts with a bunch of Autobots going on adventures in space, and when they take off, the ship gets hit by some weird quantum energy, and everyone thinks that ship exploded and everyone died. So it was interesting to me to be like, oh, that series starts with a ship exploding and everyone thinks everyone on board that ship dies. And this series ends with a ship taking off and seemingly exploding and everyone thinks everyone on the ship dies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's we left out some details. We left out some other references to stuff, but there is the basic plot of Transformers War for Cybertron. So, Steph, will you, even if we don't do an Atomic Monsoon episode about it, would you want to stick around for the second part of this trilogy?
You know, I've kind of been thinking about that, just because, one, I don't know when it's coming out, for one thing.
Yeah, right.
Two, I am, like, neck deep in, like, other shows that I'm trying to watch and everything and trying to finish through. But that doesn't mean that I won't be done by the time that does come out. But what I will say is this. Out of all, I have watched not as much Transformers as you, but I have watched a decent amount, at least.
I mean, you've watched all the movies.
I've watched all the movies, yeah. At least for someone my age and my gender, I guess.
Right.
But I mean, that doesn't mean anything, but
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I will say is this, though, is that there is something about this series that I just can't quite put my finger on just yet. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing to say. Because, and I think it is just because, one, the animation style is very pleasing to me because I watched 7 seasons of Clone Wars with that beautiful animation style and a movie. So I'm very attuned to it. It's a very pleasing animation style for me. But aside from that, I am remotely curious to see what happens next. I might tune in just to be like, what happens to you guys? But at the same time, there is just this level of maturity that exists with this show that I'm like, I will give you a chance, in the sense of like, I'm not going to say you're bad. I'm not going to say you're great either. I'm just going to say I will give you a chance to continue to impress me, because this show impressed me.
Okay.
And I was actually looking at something here earlier today, and it was actually a small little thing. I didn't know this about the show, and I don't know if you knew this about the show. I mean, you probably do if you did your research and you have 5 pages of notes.
Sure.
But did you know that this show got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes?
I did know that. Yeah. It got I'm
like, I don't normally listen to Rotten Tomatoes, but if I usually see that 100% on there, I'm like, oh, that's good then.
Yeah. It's got 100% from critics. I'm pulling this up right now, which is why I was a little stuttery just there. It has 100% on the tomato meter. It has an 86% from the audience score. The critic one is based on 13 ratings. The user is based on 110 ratings. So either way, like, it's somewhere between 100 and 86%.
Pretty good.
Between 100% and 86%, not 186%.
Yeah.
Which means, like, that averages out to like a 94 or something, which is pretty damn good. It's pretty damn good. I didn't think to do this before, but let's look up some other Transformers stuff on Rotten Tomatoes and see where they ranked. Transformers 2007, the movie, 58%.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, the second movie, 20%.
That's weird. I actually like that one more, and that's sad that it has such a low rating.
Transformers Dark of the Moon, the third movie, 35%.
Okay.
Age of Extinction from 2014, 18%.
Oh.
Transformers The Last Night, 15%. But in fairness, Transformers the movie, the animated one from 1986 that I love, also 58%. So, and then it looks like most of the TV shows, none of the other TV shows have scores on Rotten Tomatoes that I can look up real quick.
What about Bumblebee?
Oh, yeah, because that's not listed as Transformers.
No, it's not.
Bumblebee 2018 has 90% from critics, 74% from audience. Okay. So, also considered one of the better Transformers things.
It's true.
But yeah, to have a 100% rating from critics on Rotten Tomatoes for Transformers anything, it's pretty great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I am of two minds about this series. I feel like the first few episodes were a little slow, but that also could have been partially because I know what all this stuff is and I don't need to be introduced to it. But the second half of it, or especially the last 2 episodes, I really enjoyed, and I want more of that.
Yeah.
The other thing, and this is not anybody's fault. This is not any of the actors' fault. But it bothers me that almost nobody in this, except for Optimus and Starscream, sound at all like any other version of these characters.
I did notice that. I will admit, I did notice that. That everyone sounded a bit different from, I think, versions that I have heard before.
Yeah.
I will admit, though, it did throw me off that Optimus, it wasn't the same actor who's always voiced Optimus. So I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. So Optimus Prime has pretty much been voiced by 3 people ever before this. Peter Cullen, who did him in the original cartoon and the live action movies. Gary Chalk did a lot of the mid to late 90s and early 2000s Optimus Primes. And then, what is his name? It's the epic voice guy.
Oh, the Honest Trailers guy.
Yeah, that guy. That guy also has done some Optimus Prime voices in like video games and stuff, because he does a really good impression of Peter Cullen's Optimus Prime voice. So this is the first time I could think of that someone completely new has voiced Optimus Prime. First time I've experienced someone completely new voicing Optimus. And he does it like he sounds like Optimus. It's not the same guy, but he sounds like Optimus.
Yeah.
Chris Latta, the original voice of Starscream, passed away in, I think, 1994.
Oh.
So he obviously could not come back to voice Starscream. But everyone that's been doing Starscream since then has done basically a Chris Latta impression, this current voice actor included.
Yeah.
Megatron has had a few different voices over the years, but, this guy sounds enough like Frank Welker's version of Megatron, kind of crossed with David Kay's Beast Wars Megatron, to be like, all right, yeah, like, it's Megatron. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, nobody else sounds like other versions of those characters.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's for the best. Maybe it's better that everyone sounds new because this is a new interpretation of Transformers.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's bad. It threw me off because I was expecting certain voice characteristics to come out and none of them did.
Yeah.
And it's fine. It's just, like, okay, that was a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, though, I think it was pretty good. And I hope we don't have to wait a whole year for Earthrise to come out. I hope that, that's maybe like 6 months away or something.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
So, hey guys, what did you think of this show? Please let us know on our social media. You can find us at Atomic Monsoon on Twitter and Facebook, Atomic Monsoon with the _ on Instagram, and you can email us at atomicmonsoon@gmail.com. And then you can buy some shirts and masks and phone cases and stuff at our Redbubble store, and find all of our past episodes on atomicmonsoon.com. And support our friends at Def M Records by going to defmrecords.bandcamp.com.
Yep.
Do you have any last thoughts there, Stephanie?
Not really, no. But I'll just say I enjoyed the show. It was a lot of fun. I'm excited and curious to see where it goes. I may not stick to it as much as you might, but you know what? I think preparing for this week has taught me that that I can be pleasantly surprised by new things coming to Netflix. So I really enjoyed it, and y'all should go check it out. So
there you go. All right, guys. Well, have a great week and stay safe out there.
Roll out.